I want to start, though, with Simone Biles news. Okay, she's not going to perform as part of the individuals. So today's Wednesday. Tomorrow Tokyo time, they were supposed to have the individuals, okay, for gymnastics. She's going to take some time to herself. And as is completely predictable, you take a sports story, which is really, really interesting, and then we divide it along political lines, and it becomes things. The mental gymnastics that people go to are absolutely, positively ridiculous on both of these polar opposite spectrums, which lacks the reality of the actual situation. Reality of it. You know, the defenders of Simone Biles will use it as a kind of woke conspiracy. You're going after a successful black woman, which is complete crap. The other side, the super right-wing conservative, nobody wants to work, which is complete crap. The whole thing is a joke, making it political. It's a really, really interesting discussion. Really interesting. Because Aaron Rodgers mentioned it today, and he said, and it's really smart, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, like, look, we only think of mental health in terms of depression. I think when people say mental health, everybody's triggered into thinking suicide rates, which are higher now than they have ever been, I believe, in the modern history of the United States, despite the fact that we have more people in checks and balances in terms of mental health care than we've ever had previously. We may still not have enough, and there is still simply a taboo to it. Okay, especially in men's sports. But the fact is that there are way more opportunities and places and checks and balances and people who are willing to help and start a conversation, and yet our suicide rates are higher. That's a conversation. But Aaron Rodgers was smart. He's like, look, not all mental health stuff has to do with depression or has to do, he didn't mention suicide, but I do think that's what he meant without mentioning it. And he's championing what Simone Biles is doing. And I simply asked a question yesterday because I do know the answer. If LeBron did the same thing in the gold medal game, in an NBA Finals game, how would it be received? Right? And I do get that athletes now are more keenly aware of their mental status, but I'll continue to maintain that, like, look, part of what we champion about Michael Jordan and The Last Dance is his ability to compartmentalize anything else going on in the world and only focus on winning during the 48 minutes that he played basketball games. It was amazing. It was amazing. Amazing. And my point has always remained not just how we would treat LeBron, okay, how we treated Paul George when he said he wasn't in a good mental place in the bubble. Okay? And look, in many ways, I will agree, not necessarily with the treatment, but the idea that, like, look, what makes the best athletes isn't just that they're more blessed with incredible athleticism. It's the poise and discipline to be able to perform when sometimes their brain's telling them not to. Right, like the greatest hero in modern gymnastics was Kelly Strug, right? She had the ankle injury. Now that was a physical injury, but it's also your mind. Like when you go to college, when you play in college sports, like college basketball, you get up, everybody gets up and runs at some point in time in the morning or in the afternoon. And the idea of running isn't to get you in shape for basketball. Running on a track doesn't get you in shape for basketball. Does it work on some of the quick twitch if you're doing it right? Yes. Does it get you in better physical condition? I guess. The best way to get in condition for basketball is to, wait for it, play basketball. But the reason that coaches do wind sprints, the reason that coaches do up downs, the reason that coaches do stadium steps, the reason that they run you on a track, regardless of the sport, is to teach you that when your body is telling you, I can't do it anymore. Your brain pushes you, and your heart and soul and guts push you past your normal limits. That's what makes the best of the best of the best. Everybody's got stuff going on. Matter of fact, I've told people long ago that, and I'll continue, the greatest part about playing a sport at a high level is not just your own ability to compartmentalize everything else going on in the world, but the fact that your sport helps other people forget about their lives. That's the power of it. That when you're really into a game or a match or some sort of showdown or a boxing a fight or whatever, you're not thinking of your wife or your kids or your job or taxes or COVID or whatever. That's what sports brings. It is a departure from reality for us. So you are able to give us a gift of escaping reality. Meanwhile, you are able to process your own reality and put it aside for that same period of time and succeed. And now we're being told, wait, no, you don't have to do that. You can have sports on your own terms, which is not the reality. But this comes down to the core of what we've said about how you're trying to raise kids and raise athletes. You want them to be aware of their mental health. You want them to be able to overcome those demons or voices in their heads that tell them they can't do what they can do. And they can clearly do it. And I will tell you that whether it's depression or as Aaron Rodgers said, mental fogginess, it holds you back. No one can speak to it as much as I can. I can stand out of my driveway and make 90 out of 100 free throws, but I couldn't stand on a basketball court in a college basketball game and make 50 out of 100. That's your brain. So I know the power of the 8 pounds above your neck. Some of you 10 or 12, some of you slightly less. You got the Beetlejuice thing going. But that said, okay, we're still at the same place we were previously. I get and respect that Simone Biles has all this pressure on her, that everybody's depending upon her, that it's a lot. It's a lot. But that's the job. That's the job. And remember, her job and the people who comment on her job are far nicer and sweeter and wonderful and thoughtful compared to men's sports. Yet I'm told by any voice that wants to listen, hey, we're in a new era. We need to treat women's sports just as we treat men's sports in terms of compensation and the amount of content. Okay. You do understand the pressure that goes with it. You do understand the commentary that goes with it. So this idea that we're all wrong in how we've been taught about sports for 100 years and all the people we have championed and all the stories we have shared of people overcoming things in their lives in order to become the greats of all time. Think about the things you celebrate, the moments in sports that you love. So many of them are based upon the backstory of, man, I cannot believe what that guy went through. DJ Hushmanzada is going to join us in 10 minutes. You go listen to my All Ball pod with him. He details the fact that his mom was on drugs, didn't have a dad that was around. He turned to selling drugs when he was in Oklahoma City. He moved to Barstow, California. He never graduated from college. And yet he went through all of this stuff in terms of selling drugs and not going to school and being kind of a screw up and having this tough lifestyle to making it in the NFL as a 7th round draft pick, junior college to Oregon State to the NFL. And now he's an absolute savant at the position. He's one of the most respected players, okay, that I can think of that played in the NFL. When TJ speaks about his position, Pro Bowl wide receivers listen. He is the best teacher of the craft out there. And yet a good portion of it is his story. You don't think there was pressure on him to perform? You don't think there were dark times there? And I guess the question is, do we Are we now okay with guys just ducking out and ladies ducking out of the biggest competitions of their lives, especially when they represent all of us? If that's the case, okay. Okay. If it's not the case, then why are we applauding it? Is there no way she could overcome these demons to perform? She had those demons in the previous Olympics and was magnificent. Why is the pressure so great now? Is it the extra year? Is it how her name, image, and likeness has grown exponentially to where now people are calling her the greatest of all time? Like, what is it? Here we are, day 2 of the Simone Biles thing, and I think it's growing more fascinating as people try and take it and make some political nonsense out of it. It's just a discussion about sports and mental health, and do you push through or do you step aside? We have always been taught that in sports, the best of the best of the best push through. That's what it's about. That's what true toughness is. But now we're being taught the opposite. It's very confusing. Very confusing.